Hello.
We are the Studleys. We're
Yes,
back again. Back again,
we
sweetheart.
are, and it's been such a busy, fun summer. We've been
Yes, it
to Atlanta, New
has.
Orleans. Like we've been traveling, y'all. It's been real
Yes.
good. So hopefully
We
y'all have been
love to travel.
catching some of the shorts that we posted too. We had our couples food tour in July. It was an
Absolutely.
inaugural food tour, which was awesome. And we
Yes, it
had some good,
was.
good eats there. So excited to be back and excited about this episode. Although I'm a little kind of like, it's interesting.
She's
I think it's gonna
nervous.
be an interesting conversation.
Yes, it's going to be a great conversation. So, the title is What Does Happiness Got to Do with It? What does happiness got to do with it? So, we're talking about marriage. And Roz and I had a disagreement. And we've
Shocking, right?
been known to have disagreements over the years.
Y'all
21
know it's right
years.
already, though.
21 years, we definitely have our fair share of disagreements. So we were talking about happiness, subject of happiness, people being happy in marriage. And so I was saying the point was it is not a person's responsibility for their spouse's happiness. And Roz was saying the opposite.
Yeah, I feel like, first of all, I will say that I feel that happiness it can be such a temporary feeling.
True that.
So while we can do things to please each other that can make us happy, we also have to be careful because that's such a temporary thing. So I can't put all my I can't put a sense of happiness on my husband like that if he isn't living up to my expectations or doing what I want him to do. Like, while that can contribute to my happiness, it is not the end all be all for my happiness.
Exactly. And we've heard this in marriage. You might have heard it too. I'm not happy, so I'm gonna get a divorce. You know, I'm
And
not
it's a
happy in
tough
this
one.
situation.
This is a really tough one too, because yeah, let's talk about it. We want to hear what you all think.
Exactly.
What do you think about when you hear like, I want to be happy? I'm not happy, so I don't want to be in this marriage any longer. What do you do with that? And when you're
What do you do
facing
with
that,
that?
is that really a basis for ending a marriage?
Right. I personally, for me, that's a knee-jerk reaction because you and I, there have been moments where we haven't been happy in our marriage. Now, early on in our marriage, the first 5 years, we probably weren't happy a dozen, maybe more than a dozen times. However, let me tell you how this works out. We were patient with each other, right? And so eventually we had seasons of unhappiness, but we've also had seasons where we were very happy. And while there are tests and trials and all those things that we've gone through, we've overcome it. And there have been moments where we've been fulfilled. I know I have, I can speak for me, been very fulfilled in marriage, in our marriage. And then there are seasons and lulls, ups and downs where I have not been happy. But the happiness has outweighed the not so happy moments. Because those happiness, whether it's happiness or unhappiness, is still a temporary thing for me. Now, I say that our spouses are not responsible for our happiness because I feel that it's important for me to be fulfilled, for me to somehow to fulfill and be happy first
On your own.
on my own to make myself
Like, what
happy.
are you doing to find fulfillment
Fulfillment.
in your
Exactly.
life
In my life.
apart from me?
Exactly.
But then
Exactly.
I should add to your
You should
happiness.
you
I
should
should
add
add
to it.
to your life
Hmm.
and not be like, nobody wants to come home. And I think that's where it can be challenging because nobody wants to come home and be unhappy all the
All
time.
the time.
Like, it's not getting better. It's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, it's now been 15 years. Sometimes I do think people throw in the towel a little too soon.
Too soon.
And too
Too soon.
early.
Too early.
Before there's development and growth. And to your point, I like the word that you said, patience.
Development.
God is patient with us and how we're developing and growing
Absolutely.
together and in Christ. And we have to exhibit a patience with our spouses and their growth and their development as well.
Yeah, I just feel like we put too much of a burden or onus on the other person to fulfill us instead of trying to have fulfillment first, and then what are you bringing into the situation, the marriage? I feel like personally we should communicate on things that make me happy. Communicate before you get married.
And
Things that make me happy
I think that's a fair point,
or
right?
needs.
I think that's a fair point about communicating our needs
Absolutely.
to our spouse or the person who's going to become my spouse. I think it's a fair point, like not only for you to communicate your needs, but for me to communicate my needs.
Mhm.
He's not a mind reader. I'm not a mind
Absolutely.
reader. So we have to talk things through. We have to talk
Talk it.
about it. And it helps me to get a better understanding of you. And yeah, because ultimately I want you to be happy. I want us to have a good relationship. I want us to have a healthy relationship.
Healthy
I want
relationship.
I don't want to I don't want to be in a marriage where I'm like always crying. I do remember
Oh,
the
yes.
early
Oh,
season of our
yes.
marriage,
Oh,
and
yes.
it was really hard.
It was
Like I
rough.
spent a lot of time crying. Like I was very sad a lot. Like
It's rough.
it was just a hard season, and it was definitely a period of like being developed, like growing
Mhm.
together and like being purged a little bit and learning how to really adapt to him and learning also to meet your needs.
Yeah.
So
So, one of the things that we're not perfect. We want to put that out there. We're not perfect. And so we don't want to hear, we definitely want you all to like and subscribe and give comments.
for sure,
Because
like
this
be
is a topic,
honest. Yeah,
a
this
good
is
topic,
real.
I believe.
Yeah.
But we don't want to hear, oh, they think they perfect. They think that no. In our intro is ups and downs. You hear the music. In our intro, we give you the stories, ups and downs, things that we have tests and trials. We've had a few different tests and trials, and those moments have been rocky. And so we're real about it. We're real about it. We weren't like smiling every single day. Oh, I love you. No, but we were we had to continue to
Yeah.
pray. We had to fast. We had to talk about it.
Yeah.
We had to do a variety of different things.
But I want to call out something that you're saying that I think is really critical to the conversation. We
Hmm.
were on the same page to work it out.
Right.
We were on the same page to work on ourselves to get better, to have a healthier relationship, to have a healthier marriage. Unfortunately, and while I don't advocate for this, but unfortunately, there are people who are in relationships when it's just I'm just working on us, but my partner isn't working on themselves or they're not committed to
Hmm.
working on us. So what do? Like, so it's hard because while I don't want to see any marriage dissolve. It
Right.
hurts me.
Right.
It truly
Exactly.
hurts my heart when I hear of a marriage dissolving. And I've seen it in my family. I've
Especially
seen it with
families.
my dear friend of mine. I've seen it and I've walked
Hmm.
through those seasons and it's hard. So I never want to advocate for that. But I also want to be honest that it really does. I truly believe that I'm at a point now where it really takes two people to make it work. You cannot make it work if it's just one person trying to make it work.
Right.
So if it's been a decade and you still in the same place, while I wish it could get better and I wish, it was getting better. I do understand why a person's like, I'm done. I'm done.
Right.
That's not my journey. That's not my
Right.
story. I don't have a partner who's like doesn't care about how I feel or doesn't care about making it work so that we can continue to work towards a happier relationship.
Happier
I don't have that,
relationship. Right.
but somebody
We
else
don't
may.
we don't have that
Yes.
because we set out personally in the beginning saying we want peace. Now we didn't always start that way, but I think you got to get through, you have to overcome the issues that you fighting when dealing with when we went down to the altar and you said I do. We had issues
And
like
we
everyone
both had
else.
issues. That's a good point. Like
You have to
we
fight through those
had
things.
issues. We still have issues that we're working on.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the reality. Like, you don't all of a sudden arrive. And I've recently been sharing with Trey, like, I actually feel like this season of our marriage is harder than we first started out in marriage. And that's because we still have to learn how to keep it fresh, keep our
it
marriage
fresh.
relationship
That's
fresh
right.
and, interesting to each other. We have
Be
been a
creative.
monogamous one-on-one relationship
That's
for
right.
over 20 years.
That's right.
It doesn't just happen that all of a sudden you're like, oh no, you still have to work at the relationship. We are getting older, our bodies are changing. So our energy levels are different. So those are things that we have to work on for ourselves. So we just have to work in a different way than what we did earlier on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But the key point is to all to reflect on how you can help to contribute to your spouse's happiness. How you can make yourself happy, but how you can contribute to your spouse's happiness
I
as
can
well.
contribute, but I should not be the end all be all
Right.
for your happiness.
That's what I was
that
saying. That
needs
was
to
the
be
point I was making.
Jesus's position.
Right.
And I like what you said about you because I don't want to be everything for him. And I don't want him to be everything for me because the reality is one day
you can't.
God is going to take either of us home or
Right.
whatever. And I still have to be able to live and to exist while I love him and I would not want anything to happen to him. I'm just being real. Like life is life. So we know there's going to be transition at some point, but you are not my everything. God is first and foremost my everything. I cannot exist without God in my life. God is ultimately the satisfier of my soul and my spirit. He's given me this wonderful gift of marriage and I want us to thrive together and I want to continue to have a healthy relationship that brings happiness, but it's not the end all be all.
And like we said earlier, happiness is such a temporary thing because it's like the weather. It changes. It changes every single day.
It's
Happiness.
like you up and down.
You're happy one moment, not happy the next. Satisfied one moment, not satisfied the next.
Yeah.
But it's important to say, I need to love myself more. I need to cause what and that may cause me to be I need to love myself more and that may cause me to be happy. Or I need to love my spouse more and that may cause me to be happy.
I
Be
challenged him on
unselfish.
this, y'all. I'm gonna be honest
Be
with y'all.
unselfish.
I challenged him on this because I was like, God don't tell us to love yourself more. He don't tell us that in this word. He's like, die to yourself. Like
That's true.
be selfless. That's what God tells us. Sacrifice,
Right.
So, but I hear you.
He doesn't say to be happy he doesn't say to make yourself happy or to help contribute to the happiness of your spouse.
Right.
But we have to find some way balance, right? Fulfillment between our flesh or fulfillment, period. And because
Definitely.
God is the one that we can't leave him out of the situation.
Definitely.
Out of the marriage. So that's important. But we do believe that the commitment, loyalty, faithfulness, love, wisdom, and building together overrides the happiness that we are supposedly should have in our marriage. Happiness, like my wife said, like Ron said, happiness is not the end all be all. If you say I'm not happy, then you make a knee-jerk reaction and say I'm getting a divorce. That's, to me, foolery. You can say, oh, don't judge. That's foolery. Because
I just don't know if I agree with that. I don't agree with that. I love you and I honor you.
But
I know
you
we
did
have to,
say
I know
you did go back and
this is just one of those topics. I'm just being very honest that I'm really on the fence about it. And if you would have asked me this question 10 years ago, I probably would have had a different response.
Right.
But now that I have seen a bit more, I have walked through different seasons with people and just been on outside looking in of their relationship. I just feel a little different about it. So,
but we will say that abuse, if there's abuse and infidelity, of course, that's grounds, obviously, for
absolutely,
divorce.
1,000%.
So we're not even talking about that. So if you saying, well, what if someone is getting abused? Of course, we're not talking about that. We're talking about when there's no abuse and there's no there's faithfulness, then you're gonna step out because you are unhappy That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm really referring to.
Yeah, and it's so
So,
interesting that you bring that up because I was made aware of a situation where, a couple is going through a difficult season and the wife has chosen to do some things outside of their marriage. And I'm like, well, that's not okay. I wish that wasn't her response, but that's her choice. That's what she's decided to do. I just think ultimately, find your happiness in the Lord because the Lord is eternal
mhm,
and he knows what you need.
that's right.
And then, work with your spouse to meet each other's needs. But just know that when I hear the word happiness, it just sounds very temporal and it's just
Yes,
not an eternal thing. It's
that's
not.
right.
And so that's why
It's
I
not
think I
eternal.
hesitate with that word because I do think more eternal. I think like, okay, God, what's gonna be long term? What's gonna last? And even if I'm not happy today, I'm not happy because my job, or I'm not happy because of this. I'm not happy because Trey didn't put away the dishes or whatever. Like it's something that's just
Up
like,
and down,
it's just
up
so
and down, up
up and
and
down, up and down, but I still love you. And to your point, I'm still committed to you. I'm not gonna
commitment,
like, it's like we still gonna work
commitment.
through this and I'm still gonna wake up. I'm still gonna serve you, still
Mhm.
want to honor you. We just got some things to
Commitment,
continue to work on and work through.
commitment,
So,
commitment. That's the word, commitment. Commitment overrides happiness.
but I guess we should end it by saying, are you happy though? And what
Yes.
are the top 3 things that make you happy?
In our marriage, or top 3 things that make me happy, period.
Let's start with period.
The top 3 things that make me happy, I would say, first of all, is well, this is the season where I'm in summertime, so I get to do nothing and then
Summertime
just
shy. See,
exactly
but
as a
temporary,
teacher.
but temporary.
That's
That's
temporary,
exactly
right, right, right.
because it's
Well,
summertime and it's about to be fall and it's
that's
about to
true,
be winter.
right.
But
But
anyways,
being able to play tennis makes me happy. Being able to love on my wife makes me happy.
okay.
Yeah, love on my wife makes me happy, and being able to um just be able to do some things that I want to do. Having money in the bank makes me happy.
That's true. And
Now,
it's honest.
now people say, "Oh, you a minister." Having money in the bank makes me happy.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. That's
Point blank.
good.
Period.
That's
Be
good.
real. So those are top 3 things. What about you?
Top 3 things that make me happy would first be my relationship with the Lord. Like that's my priority. That's really important to me. I strive to be consistent in my relationship and growing in the Lord. So that would be number 1. Number 2, what makes me happy is my family, my husband, my family. That season of spending time with my nephews and just constantly when I can work at building the relationships that matter to me, that makes me happy. And then I would say third, what makes me happy is when I show up for people, when I follow through, and I feel that I'm making a difference in someone else's life in a positive way. That kind of makes me feel like I'm achieving my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me happy as well. So those are 3 things that make us happy.
Right. Right. Top 3 things that makes us happy. Now, of course, I know you're gonna throw God in there. Of course, spending time with God
See,
makes me happy
you
as
need
well.
to.
I mean, come on now. I'm just saying, that's an obvious one.
So did we make the point that you wanted to make? Because this was just
You
such
made
an
my point
interesting
too,
topic.
but
So we
you
were
made my point.
really trying to figure out how we
You
were
made my
going to
point.
talk about it and discuss it.
You
So
made my point because you said about fulfillment, you need God, and God, as long as God is making you happy or fulfilling you, that's the important thing.
yeah, and I
And
don't want to
so
be so
that,
deep, but
right,
it's the real deal. Like
is right.
that's what's eternal. Like ultimately, this world is fleeting. It's only what you do for Christ is going to last. Like things are so temporary. So you got to have the eternal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah. Well, we're gonna leave it at
But
that
I
because I
could be
could
wrong.
rant.
I'm open to
I could
learning.
rant.
I'm listening. I'm learning. Drop some nuggets for us.
Yes.
Teach us on today.
Please
Share your
like,
story. Share your journey.
subscribe.
I don't know it all, so I'm happy to learn, and
We
I'm
love
grateful for
talking
that.
about marriage.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe. Keep the fire burning.
Awesome. Love y'all.
Peace.
Blessings.
It ain't been perfect.